Her beautiful backside began to ooze fluid so violently that even the surgeons were afraid of what might become of her. The room was filled with the sterile scent of antiseptic, but no amount of cleanliness could mask the severity of Nkem's condition. She sat in silence, her once confident demeanor replaced by overwhelming shame and regret. Nkem was a young, beautiful, slim lady with a complexion that seemed to glow under the sun. Her delicate features often turned heads in her small village, but her confidence had been chipped away over the years. Growing up in a household with 4 siblings, Nkem always felt like the odd one out. Her eldest sister, Ada, was the center of attention, a curvaceous beauty whose figure was the envy of many. Ada loved teasing Nkem. She would call her Flat Nkem, a nickname that stuck from childhood and followed her into adolescence. Whenever Nkem walked by, Ada would jokingly shout, "Don't forget to pick up your flatwood." The other siblings would laugh, and Nkem would shrink into herself, wishing she could disappear. Her chest was another frequent target of mockery. Ada would point and joke, "Are you sure you're not a boy in disguise?" Their mother would scold Ada for being mean, but the damage was done. Nkem began avoiding mirrors. Whenever she dared to look, she would see all the flaws her sister had pointed out. Her flat chest, her narrow hips, her slim behind, all seemed magnified in her eyes. She longed to be different, to have the kind of body that demanded attention and admiration. When she reached her teens, Nkem started secretly visiting a market stall that sold hip and chest pads. She would slip them on under her clothes and practice walking in front of the cracked mirror in her room. She thought the pads made her look confident, sophisticated, even glamorous. But the villagers were unkind. They whispered behind her back, some laughing openly at her attempts to mimic city girls. Her parents noticed her growing obsession with appearances. Her mother would often sit her down, speaking in soft, comforting tones. "Nkem, my dear, you're perfect just as you are. God made no mistakes with you." Her father would nod in agreement, adding, "It's what's inside that matters most, my child." But their words fell on deaf ears. To Nkem, their reassurances were meaningless. She didn't want to be perfect by village standards. She wanted to be perfect by city standards, the kind of perfection she saw in magazines and on social media. The kind that came with envy, admiration, and status. Everything changed when Nkem received an admission letter to the University of Lagos. It was the opportunity she had been waiting for, a chance to escape the village and start a new life. As she packed her bags, she made a silent promise to herself. She would not return to the village as the same Nkem who was mocked and ridiculed. She would become someone else entirely. When Nkem arrived in Lagos, the city was everything she had imagined and more. The towering buildings, the bustling streets, and the endless stream of people made her feel both excited and overwhelmed. But as much as she loved the city, she quickly realized she didn't fit in. The girls on campus were polished and glamorous. They wore designer clothes, carried expensive handbags, and seemed to glide through life with an air of effortless confidence. Nkem felt like an outsider. Her simple clothes and shy demeanor made her stick out in a sea of sophistication. By her second semester, Nkem met Amanda, Diana, and Juliet during a group project. They were everything Nkem aspired to be: bold, stylish, and unapologetically confident. The trio took an interest in her, teasing her gently about her simple wardrobe but also promising to help her transform. "Stick with us," Amanda said one evening as they sipped coffee at a cafe near campus. "We'll show you how to live." Under their influence, Nkem's transformation began. Amanda took her shopping at upscale boutiques, where she maxed out her savings to buy trendy outfits. Diana introduced her to makeup tutorials, teaching her how to contour her face and enhance her features. Juliet gifted her a waist trainer, saying, "This will give you the curves you've always wanted." Slowly, Nkem began to notice the changes. Heads turned when she walked across campus. Men complimented her, and women envied her style. For the first time in her life, Nkem felt seen. But the compliments weren't enough. She wanted more. One evening, Amanda invited her to an exclusive party where Nkem met Chief Peters, a wealthy, influential man who took an immediate liking to her. His compliments were intoxicating, and when he casually mentioned that she would look perfect with more curves, Nkem's insecurities resurfaced. She decided to take the next step. At Amanda's recommendation, Nkem underwent a cheap cosmetic procedure to enhance her figure. The results were stunning. She became the center of attention wherever she went. Men at the market would call out to her, claiming she had dropped something, just to see her bend down. Compliments flowed in, and for a while, Nkem felt like the queen she had always dreamed of being. But the joy was short-lived. Within months, the effects of the procedure began to take a toll on her body. She developed severe infections, tissue damage, and unbearable pain. Her once envied figure became a source of horror. Fluid oozed uncontrollably from her buttocks, and she could no longer sit or walk comfortably. Doctors informed her that the damage was irreversible. Nkem's glamorous life unraveled. Chief Peters abandoned her, and Amanda, Diana, and Juliet distanced themselves, embarrassed by her condition. Alone and broken, Nkem returned to her village. Her health deteriorated rapidly. She required monthly drainage procedures to manage the infections and could no longer pass stool naturally. The girl who had once dreamed of perfection was now a shadow of her former self. After some time, she developed complications and passed away. Her story then became a cautionary tale in the village. At her funeral, her mother wept bitterly. "My daughter wanted so much to be more than what she was. If only she had known she was already enough." Nkem's life and tragic end became a lesson for many, a reminder of the importance of self-acceptance and the dangers of chasing an unattainable ideal.